Welcome back to another episode of K-Talk Studio. Today, we have a very special guest, someone I truly admire, someone I truly want to get to know and understand better. Duncan Soler.
What it do, skis? D-U-N-C-A-N. Duncan Soul Air, baby. And of course, bringing a little bit of gold to flex just for the one time, of course.
Yeah, so I hear last weekend you won the championship.
PWS. So, Pro Wrestling Society, they have this bar show called Pub Brawls. One of the regulars, if you would say so. And of course, being the top babyface, being the top person that they pay to see.
Were there a lot of people there?
Yeah, all of them screaming Duncan too. That's the best part, like when the whole crowd is screaming that.
So, you have various personas. Now, a pro wrestling champion.
To be clear, I was a pro wrestling champion for a while now. I've been the Australian heavyweight champion. I'm also the Smash Mouth champion of Queensland, also down in Australia. Then I got my NKPW women's title that I won out in Japan. And this is my new belt. Ain't she purty?
Can you explain living out these different personas?
So Duncan is actually an evolution of a character that I used to do back in America. So my first ever wrestling persona, well, second ever wrestling persona. My first wrestling persona was an athlete. Super athlete. Cut that one. That one died. But then my second gimmick ever was Santiago, the Blazing Sun. I was a fighting hippie kind of character. So the character was a little hard to, maintain because, like, why is a hippie fighting? Why is a hippie using these moves? And, like, how do you make it make sense? Like, it was a character that liked to lose a lot. I'm not even going to lie. And so I started transitioning into more of a dark persona. Like, I was like, hey, yo, what's going on? Let's fix some of these problems, Eric. So that's how I ended up with the Duncan character. Then I started playing it a little bit more extreme. Like, what if he was always just like turned up, ah! When I first got to Korea, it was just like an egotist. I was a hype beast. I was the vibe dealer. And your girl was out here serving. I was out here serving promos. I was out here serving face. I was out here serving body. I was strong. I was fierce. I was everything that you want to be. From that period, Duncan, she became much more of a aggressively passionate character. Now, Seraphim was a permutation. She came about because I lost my belt. And so Seraphim is all that rage, all that misplaced aggression and not being able to be what I want to be. And so since I can't be Queen of Korea, I will be the nightmare of Korea. And that's where Seraphim really is.
That's the one I saw on Instagram.
The face paint, yes. That's the one who can get kicked 5 times and get back up.
How'd you get into wrestling?
I've always been into wrestling since I was a little jit. But I got into the industry in Southern Illinois. And it came about with one of my friends I used to rap with. He brought me out. And it was this little rinky-dink promotion in the middle of nowhere. Came out as a super athlete and took 15 chops and got thrown over the top of the ring. And that was my first match. And didn't get paid. I got a Oreo pie as my payment, which is basically the same as a hot dog and a handshake for your first match. For those of you who don't know, hot dog and a handshake, a lot of promoters in wrestling, they don't like to pay. They like to tell you how light the gate is and give you a free thing of food and a handshake to ask you to be back.
Why is that, though? Is it because they don't make any money?
Some of them, you could say they aren't making any money. Some of them, it's more than likely they just don't really care about taking care of the boys.
These different personas are Duncan and Seraphim. Mm-hmm. Do you have any other personas?
My drag persona is a lot different than my wrestling persona. So while Seraphim is more monstrous in wrestling, she's just a little cute girl when it comes to drag. I just be out here just living life.
You use the same name.
Yeah.
But they're different personas.
Exactly. Okay. Duncan, Seraphim.
Cute girl.
Being a black person in Korea.
As far as like racial awareness in Korea, a lot of people love calling black people like their bros or their soul sisters or their soul brothers. It's like a well-intentioned racism. Like you're trying to be friendly. Like you're talking to like a white foreigner. You're like, oh, hey. But then you see a black one. You're like, oh, hey, bro. As far as my experience with younger Koreans, a lot of fetishism in Korea. A lot of people really like the idea of having sex with a black person. Fetishism leads to dehumanization. It leads to reducing someone down to their sexual organs. Whether Black men are better or worse equipped than the stereotype is irrelevant, because you're not looking at them as a person, you're looking at them as a penis. I don't like it. I don't want to bite it. I'm not with it.
Let's tap into the LGBTQ plus.
Let's do it.
For us, dumb and old people, can you please explain what LGBTQ and plus stand for?
No problem.
With each letter.
L, lesbians, women who like women, female identified individuals who like female identified individuals. B, bisexuals, people who like 2 or more genders. So they like boys, they like girls, they like non-binaries, they like whatever is there. They like 2 or more. G, y'all should know this one. That's the gays, that's the homos, that's the boys that be liking boys and such. T, that's the transes. You know, those are the people who were born one gender and transitioned to a different gender. Your Qs, that's the queers. Those are people who don't necessarily fit into one particular demographic. In my experience, has been used more as a sort of catch-all for people who don't necessarily fit within the normal understanding of gender, sexuality in the greater LGBT landscape. Yeah, that's where you get into the real funky stuff, truth be told. Then we get into the plus. And the plus, that is for your aces, asexuals, people who don't feel a sexual attraction. Your aros, aromantics, they don't feel romantic attraction. They might like to have sex, they might not like to have sex, but they don't really care for the romantic part. Two spirits, that is a indigenous term for people who feel as though there are 2 spirits within them. Gender queers, people who one day might be in a little skirt and be all frilly and shit, the next day be on some masculine shit. Gender fucks, the people who you might see where they like, you can't tell what's going on with that gender. There's just like a lot of gender happening right there. Pansexuals, that's your people who, as long as you're a consenting adult, they are down. That's where you get into more complicated gay stuff. Queer and LGBTQ can be used interchangeably in some spaces. LGBTQ is the more politically correct one, because, you know, some people they get a little angry if you just say gay or you just say queer, so they want everybody to be included.
This is so complicated, and you probably lost me at queer. But where do you fall in that?
So I'm a queer. I identify as a non-binary trans femme. So what that basically means is I'm not a boy, I'm not a girl, but I do like more feminine coded things. So being referred to as she and her, as a girl, ma'am, a miss, lady, those kinds of things.
Do you use the women's bathroom?
So when nobody is around, I'm using the girls' bathroom. But if I think at any point somebody is going to be uncomfortable, I'm in the men's bathroom. I misgender myself for the sake of others.
You know how in the subways or like wherever you go, you see these disabled bathrooms, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you should use that, huh?
I'm not disabled. What are you talking about?
I sometimes use that too.
If you're a bathroom pervert, I want you to go after him before you ever go after me.
And a lot of the times, the disabled bathrooms are a lot more clean.
Yeah,
so
this is true.
That's a good tip for you. Okay, so you also are involved in the drag culture.
Yes.
Right? What inspired you to become a drag?
It was at one of the early drag shows that I was going to, and Shinitza was talking about the fact that she wanted to throw together a drag brunch for Juneteenth. And she was like, yeah, but I don't know any other Black drag performers. And I was like, baby girl, I'm right here. And yeah, it was my first time ever doing drag. And now a year later, I'm just out here just doing drag, trying my best living life.
I'm sure you enjoy it, right?
Oh, I love doing drag. It's really fun to be on stage. It's really fun to be as gay as possible. It's very fun to be paid.
So what can people expect to see when they actually go to a drag show?
If it's me, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be stripping, but there are those times that I'm not stripping, in which case I'm going to be super cute. But yeah, it really depends on who's performing. Every drag artist brings their own things. Like Femi Boyo is one of my favorites. In his big performance that I remember, brought a mannequin on stage and proceeded to stab it to death. It was wild. Anessa is another Korean drag queen, and she she loves breaking out dicks. So she'll just have like a dildo and just stick it on the stage, and it's just gonna be there. You have some who love to dance, like Paris Baguette, who just shows up and she thwacks and vogues and tears the house down. You got Whiskey Morphine. She literally is the best dancer, aside from Shaniza. Whoever you see is gonna give you the show of a lifetime. You're gonna see something that you like.
So it's not just one act or one song or one performance. It varies.
It varies, yeah. People don't like recycling bits.
Let's move on to the misconceptions of LGBTQ plus community. Now, these are some of the misconceptions that people have, and I want you to clarify.
Okay.
First one, pronouns aren't real.
In Korea, I'm aware that Korean doesn't have like strict pronouns and such. You have like gendered terminology, but you don't necessarily have pronouns when you're speaking. If you're an English speaker and you only speak English, you literally can't say that because it's a part of the language. It's literally intrinsically a part of your language. So unless your language doesn't have pronouns, pronouns are as real as any other word in your language.
So I've read 60-year-old Canadian man or trans man. Okay, so how does this work? So if you're a man that transitioned into trans woman, she's a trans woman, but she is 60 years old, but she now identifies as a 6-year-old girl.
Fact of the matter is you can't transition your age. Somebody who identifies as a 6-year-old, that's just a weird person. And I want to really just stress that point. Yes, there are perverts who do weirdo stuff. There are going to be perverts, but trans people are 0.5% of the population. We're like infinitesimally small. And there are a lot more cisgender perverts that exist that nobody really cares about because they're cis, they're normal. But like, they're still perverts. Like, they still have weirdo kinks. They're still doing gross stuff. But because trans is the new meme for conservatives to lose their mind over, that's what they're doing. Most trans people just kind of want to be left alone and like not have their entire identity based around their gender. But we don't live in that society where people can just be people. People want to turn everything into a political issue.
Not all, but a lot of media, what they're doing is to trigger people so that they get attention. You know, if it bleeds, it leads. Okay, so let's move on to the second one.
Okay.
Bisexuality is just a phase. When I was in high school in America, I had a girlfriend, and she claimed to be a bisexual.
Okay.
And after we broke up, she turned lesbian.
She didn't turn lesbian. She's bisexual. She was with a boy. She then went with a girl.
Right. I don't know.
That's bisexual, bro. Like, she told you what she was.
You told me she was lesbian now. So
Okay.
Does that change anything?
She could be like a 100% lesbian. There are a lot of lesbians that said they were bisexual because they were afraid to come out as like strictly lesbians. But like, it's a popular myth because like there's this idea that you have to pick one. You gotta pick one. So if you are a bi male and you end up with a woman, you're straight. If you're a bi dude and you end up with a dude, you're gay. If you're a bi woman and you end up with a woman, you're a lesbian. If you're a bi woman and you end up with a man, you're straight. Or you're a whore. If you're a monogamous bisexual and your partner is one gender, you're still a bisexual. You're just in a relationship. But if you were a bisexual in a poly relationship, that means 2 or more partners, and you have female partner, non-binary partner, you're still bisexual.
Next one is queer people are hypersexual.
If you're looking for gays to be hypersexual, everything becomes hypersexual. In America, if a queer teacher has like a rainbow flag on their desk, that's seen as sexual signaling. But a straight teacher with a picture of their wife and their daughter, that's not sexual at all. What are you talking about? That's just a man and his family. 2 men with spouse pictures on theirs though. Ooh, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's kind of weird, man. That's the super culture looking into a subculture and seeing it as degenerate, seeing it as hypersexual when it's not. So there are plenty platonic gays.
Gay men are more likely to be pedophiles.
It is bullshit. You got plenty of stories of like young boys being taken advantage of by priests, by teachers. We've got so much pedophilia within the American culture that it was a popular thing for people to go after girls as jail bait.
Okay, so studies show that over 90% of child molestation is committed by heterosexual men. So there you go. Why do you think these heterosexual males with high integrity jobs, such as
Priest, teacher,
coach,
power? As a rape survivor, I will readily admit being taken advantage of by somebody I thought I could trust, and that trust was misplaced. What I can tell you about people like that, you have to be a sick individual to do that kind of thing to a child. The people who do that don't do it because they're straight. The people who do that because they are depraved, they are evil, they are broken, and they do need to be fixed in one way or another.
All right, so let's dive into you.
Okay.
What challenges have you faced as a gay person growing up?
As a queer person growing up, I got into a lot of fights, but the fights were just because, like, when I was little, I was really fucking aggressive. As far as related to my queerness, though, most people were actually pretty chill about it. Like, a lot of Black people are just very libertarian in the sense that they're like, hey, as long as you're not messing with me. I had more conflict from like a racial side of things than a gender or sexual orientation kind of thing, just because like Black children aren't really protected. And so I had like a lot of people, like I had the benefit of being a very smart student. And so I would get like a lot of leeway in my behaviors, but I wasn't necessarily the best behaved student because like I had a lot of conflicts that were related to race and also dealing with the traumas that I was experiencing at home. I moved around a lot. My family history is quite troubled. And so because of the things that were going on in my personal life that were more out of my control, the one thing I could control was getting into fights. And I liked getting into fights because I liked being able to assert some measure of control. I was also very neglected, but I mean, I turned out fine.
Were you ever confused?
Confused? Nah, I knew pretty early that I liked the boys. It's just I didn't want to admit it. Like I had a crush on one of my best friends. But it never was to be.
So if there's anybody struggling with their identity or sexuality, do you have anything to say for that?
A lot of people will tell you, oh, it gets better. But truth be told, it doesn't. The societies that we live under does not allow for things to quote unquote get better. But I can tell you that closet ain't it, baby. And if you are in a situation where it is a matter of your survival or your self-expression, and those two things are not analogous, hey, I don't begrudge you for being in the closet. But if you can be yourself, it is liberatory. Be who you are.
Okay, so what should people be careful of when interacting with a person?
Don't assume that we want to fuck you. Don't assume that your gay friend is attracted to you. Don't assume Nathan. Also, be willing to listen, be willing to learn. Most times you're not going to encounter some like raging SJW that's like, you misgendered me? Ah! Most of the time, trans people don't even want to bring it up. If they do bring it up to you, that's because they feel comfortable with you. So it's like hey, could you not? Because it makes me sad. And again, treat people like how you want to be treated.
Let's go back and talk about how you ended up in Seoul.
So I used to live on the south side of Chicago. When I was in Chicago, I was in a slum. It had rats. I didn't even have food in my house, and there were still rats in the apartment. Disgusting. Couldn't do basically anything because I was just sick all the time. I was just working to live. I wasn't really living life. I gotta get out of here. So it got reduced down into 4 options: Japan, China, Mexico, or Korea. Mexico was the first option. Mexico was limited by the fact that I'm not Catholic, and they were going to ask me to do like Hail Marys, and no, thank you. China was a non-starter because the money was too low. Japan was a non-starter because they were too cheap. They were not offering no money. And so Korea was the best option at the time. So I took Korea. And I don't regret the decision.
So how do you find Seoul or Korea in general different than home?
I would probably say people are simultaneously more and less rude. Like they're rude in ways that Americans would say are rude, but they're polite in ways that Americans just are not. In Korea, like grandmas will just like knock you over and stuff. Like ajumas do not be with the bull. Just been tackled D-lineman style by like an ajuma just trying to get off the train and stuff. As far as like food culture, I do like the tipping is not a thing here. Love that tipping is not a thing here because that shit's expensive, G. Like when you a broke girl, like I'm literally just a college graduate. Please chill out.
I wanted to ask you this too.
What up?
I've never seen a parade in Korea.
Pride parade.
I'm sure there are, right?
There are.
And I wanted to know how they're different than the ones in the States.
I feel like Korea is much more on the side of like, yeah, Pride. Anybody can come to Pride. Bring your kids. The ones in the States are a lot more overt and a lot more of what people would deem as sexual because like there's a lot more kink on display at American Pride. I lean more towards that side because while I do love kids to be happy and feel included and feel in safe spaces, I do feel as though like everybody should feel included. Not every space is for every face.
Mm-hmm.
Pride did not start. It wasn't like a marketing thing. It was a protest.
How can people outside of LGBTQ plus community be of support?
What can be done for straight allies is to fight for your gay friends, siblings, associates, idols, like whoever is in your life that you want to help. And even if they're not in your life, you should be willing to like confront people who say shit that you know would probably make that person upset.
Don't just be a bystander. But I don't necessarily see it as allies and foes. I don't know, coming from an uneducated person. I think the first thing we could do is to understand and then move on to the next stage.
Understanding is good. It's a good goal to have. Empathy is a good goal to have, but what I want is justice. And justice is a lot harder to reach, especially when you don't have power. Mm-hmm. And so if we want to have like a starting point, understanding is a fine starting point, but it cannot be seen as an end goal. The end goal can never just be, oh, I understand you or I tolerate you. The goal must be the society is restructured from the ground up and with the core ideology of people being seen as people. A lot of people want it to be easy, and it's not going to be easy. It can never be easy because what has been done is cruel. It is inhumane. It is monstrous. A lot of people just want to put a Band-Aid and say, oh, sorry about that. But as Malcolm X said, if you stick a knife in my back, justice isn't you taking the knife out halfway. It's not even when you take the knife out all the way. It's when the wound starts to heal that we can finally start getting into peace and equality and things of that nature. But like a lot of people don't even acknowledge the knife is there.
Right.
And then you even got some people who want to push the knife further. And that's for Black people. That's for gay people. That's for a lot of different minority groups. We got to get that knife out of there.
Okay, like I said, I really, truly admire you for truly being yourself. And I hope you excel in everything that you do.
Aww,
and
you're a sweetheart.
Hope to see you very soon again.
So you can see me at PWS, you can see me at AKW, you can see me at Rabbit Hole, you can see me on TV if you're very close-eyed. I've been basically everywhere. Your girl is an actress for real. So hope to see you around. Hope y'all get to see me around, and it was a wonderful time.
Duncan Solar, everybody.